Through art, we can build a window into a different world or way of living, one that meets our values and how we wish to live in the world. But art can extend well beyond just a canvas, and in this case, even into a tiny house.
Hi, I'm Tim, and this is Erica.
And this is our tiny house.
We've been living in it for about 2 years now, about 2.5 years maybe. And it's all DIY, with the exception of the skylights. So our tiny house is 8.5 feet wide and 28 feet at the bottom, and then it comes out to 30 feet at the top, but it's on a 28-foot trailer.
Talking about small, our first apartment in New York City was just over 200 square feet, which is how we knew that we could live in such a small space together. It was a studio, and not only did we live there, but he also worked from home in the space.
What we love about living in a tiny house is that it affords you all the time and space even to create on a daily basis, to always be making things. And the reality is the house itself is such a project that, it's a creative endeavor on a daily basis.
What I also love about the tiny house is that it allows us to be minimalists and to live in a really honest and modest way that's not cluttered by objects. We're able to streamline all of the things that we own, and we're able to just live really simply. We are also driven by sustainability, and we wanted to build our own house, and we really wanted a very small space. And we came across tiny houses, and we realized it was one of the options that you could do without having a piece of land or a place to put the house yet. So we really love the idea of being able to build our house and then put it wherever we wanted to and have that freedom.
We're looking for land right now, but we don't own the property. We're renting right now.
Yeah, we found this. We were just kind of looking online for parking places, and we came to see this property, and we just loved it. We felt like it was in the woods, but it's also really close to some great towns up here. So it allowed us to have some privacy, but we also have access to a lot of great things. We're able to garden here. We're able to really take advantage of the property.
The reality is, when you live in the city, when you live in Brooklyn or whatever, you don't decide, all right, I'm gonna make myself a cup of coffee and then walk outside my door and have a coffee while looking around, because you'd seem crazy, right? But here, it makes sense.
We started designing our house while we were living in New York City, and we decided to move up to the Hudson Valley. And not knowing anyone here, we decided to move to an artist community so we could have a live workspace. And we were fortunate enough to build our tiny house there on the premises as a creative project. But as soon as we were done, we had to move our house, and we just moved a little further north here in the Hudson Valley. Our house is kind of like half off the grid because our water comes from a well here, but we are hooked up directly for electric. But then all of our plumbing is actually our own gray water system. And then we have composting toilets, so there's no black water.
Yeah.
But, I mean, we're hoping to be as off the grid and self-sustaining as possible.
Yeah. Why don't we go take a look? Come on.
Welcome. This is our tiny house kitchen. We were really worried about having enough kitchen space. I personally love to cook, and I felt like this was such an important part of our build. Designing our kitchen in this way so that it wrapped around the whole space has worked out perfectly. It left us with not just enough counter space so we can prep everything, but it also left us enough space that we could do this built-in counter seating. If we're ever entertaining and we did want to actually have 4 people to sit down for a meal, that we wanted another part of our table. So we designed this area so that we can have our 2 seatings here, and then we could have space to have 2 more guests sitting here. I also use this table as my workspace. And one of the things I was struggling with was that I work on a laptop, and I also have a drawing tablet, and I had no place to plug in all of my accessories. So Tim came in and actually set up to have an outlet built into our table. So we don't have any cords, and everything just plugs right into here, which is great while you're working. When we were designing our tiny house, we wanted it to be as light filled as possible. Me personally, I wanted a wall of glass. Tim kind of talked me back from that, and we decided that if you're going to live in your tiny house, you need it to also be functional. So we decided that we would just do as many windows as possible. And in addition to having the windows on both sides, we also decided to have a skylight on here, which is really great because we can vent it whenever it gets hot, but it just allows us so much light in the room. We went ahead and splurged on this as one of our gifts for finishing our tiny house, and we love it. We make ourselves a cup of coffee, we come over here and we sit down, and we just love like looking out the window and just enjoying the view. We really love the feel of a cabin, but we didn't want the entire interior to be wood of our house, but we wanted to preserve some of those wood elements. So we made all of our cabinetry ourselves. Everything's out of this beautiful birch wood. We even made our handles are made from beautiful walnut. I love kitchen tiles, and I really wanted to have like this very cool hexagon story going on. And I just got an assortment of colors, and I went ahead and just did like these custom pops of colors in here that I felt like just made it more true to our house. And it's just like a really fun element that we could have in our kitchen. We have a water softening unit, and then behind here we also have like a home filtration unit. So we have an on-demand water heater, and we kind of decided that like the rest of our plumbing, we wanted to keep it inside so we had less risk of issue with freezing. But our on-demand water heater is underneath our cabinet here. Then what you see here is just the venting pipe that allows it to vent outside.
So this is our bathroom, and what it is we have a composting toilet, got our stand-up shower. It's basically the same size as a normal shower, but I've tapered the back corner, and I've also tapered this wall so that it gives you a greater sense of space as you're entering the house and you're walking in towards the back end of the house. It makes it feel as though you're walking into a more expanse space. So this mirror is made with some of the same cedar as I used to make the windows for the house. And that cedar comes from Hurricane Sandy. It was a storm in 2011. This bathroom is supposed to be temporary so that when we actually moved to a piece of land and then we developed phase 2 of our build, that we're going to get rid of this bathroom entirely. And then this is going to be the entryway to the second part of the house. And this is our staircase, which is also doubles, of course, as storage, which is I think it's kind of a requirement for tiny houses. You have to have a staircase that doubles as storage, right? So that's what we have. Going from our staircase into our living room, we have a set of dividing partitions. And this is for if we have a guest that wants to sleep on our couch. This is our built-in set of closets that we did here. It's, I guess you call it a built-in. This is our office area here, and we have like our printers and stuff like that up here. And we have all of Erica's sewing stuff here. We keep our art supplies in there, and we're keeping some of my tools in here from now, the essentials, just because we haven't set up a workshop yet.
We both work as freelance artists and designers and doing like a variety of jobs. And we needed our space to be flexible and allow us to do all of the different jobs that we do. And one of the challenges for us too was that Tim does a lot of woodworking and furniture, and he really needed a kind of a larger space. So we also had to keep that in mind, how we could have a space outside of our house that we could integrate and that we wouldn't lose that ability to make things.
This is our ultimate utility closet. It's where we keep our brooms and mops and our laundry chute. We have a laundry chute. And the wallpaper Erica picked out is from the House of Hackney in England. It's a beautiful print, and we feel like, yes, it's a big, bold print and works surprisingly well in this tiny space.
Why don't we go up to our loft? We designed our loft with a pitch in it so that the taller side is for Tim and the shorter side is for myself. And it allows both of us to actually sit up in bed without actually hitting your head or feeling crammed in your loft. which I feel is key to a tiny house loft. I love when I see a tiny house or a cabin that has a skylight over the bed, and it was something we definitely wanted to incorporate. We made these really great drawers that keep our clothes. In addition, we also have 2 really big drawers underneath. And then behind our bed here, we actually have built-in storage behind the headboard. So we just have some moving panels which slide out and give us a little bit more privacy. So while we lived in New York City, you know, our rent was around $1,800 a month. So when we did that math and we were thinking about building a tiny house, we figured out that for the cost of a down payment, which we couldn't get anywhere close to, that we could actually build a tiny house. I did the budget throughout our entire build, and because we did this entire build, I should say, we took out 1 small loan for materials in the beginning, and after that, we paid nothing but cash for our build. So we did a budget every month, and it's also one of the reasons that we stretched out our build over 2.5 years, was that we could keep doing it for cash so that we could keep true to our goal of being debt-free. But I believe it was about 35, maybe 40,000, and that's because we really did everything ourselves. We didn't hire anyone to come and do our plumbing. We didn't hire anyone to do our electrical. We did everything ourselves.
So other work, for me, I scaled back on some of my freelance work because I had to build a tiny house. But I think the reality is what we're doing is setting us up to stop the rat race entirely.
As an artist, you take freelance jobs and you do all different types of design work and handwork and whatever it may be. But ultimately, you know, my hope was that he can get back to making art and that he can do projects as he wants to do them. That it's not so much that you're working for someone else all the time, that you can take projects that you enjoy doing, that you love doing, and that, you know, you can put more into it. And then we could also have time for ourselves and our own creative outlets.
I actually kind of think that's at the heart of being a human being, is really what one thing that I feel defines us as humans is our not just capacity, but our drive to create, you know, and that's something that's taken from so many of us just because we have to spend, you know, 1/3 of our lives. Most people spend 1/3 of their lives, you know, in a situation where they're making somebody rich, but that's, you know, kind of it, you know.
Working for other people.
Cogs in a machine, that isn't creativity, you know, that takes away the capacity to fulfill that essential part of yourself as a human.
Since we've moved into this house and paid off our debt, I've been able to scale back some of my work, and this summer I will be officially exiting my job. One of the reasons we're planning to build onto our house, that when we first sat down to design a house, we actually designed a few different houses, and they were all under 1,000 square feet.
The largest was 500 or 600 square feet.
Yeah, they were all very small houses, and that was about the size that we were looking at. So when we decided on a tiny house, we knew that we were coming in under that limit, and we had always planned that we would like to find a piece of land so we could set up permanently, and that we would want to expand a little more on this house, probably keeping it under 500 square feet, but being able to move our bedroom downstairs and being able to build a bigger bathroom so that we could have a bathtub, which is something we kind of miss right now. Yeah, just to have a little more space, and that we'd be able to keep our loft for our guests and for anyone visiting.
You know, the truth is this is still going to be a very small house when we build the extension or the addition, because it's ultimately it'll be about 600 square feet, you know, after phase 2. So still not going to be a huge house. It's still going to be small. And it's also going to be passive solar then. It's not now, but it will be then because of the design. So the reality is, even though we are expanding, I think that we're incorporating the necessary principles to still keep it small and to keep to our principles of decreasing our carbon footprint as much as possible.
It's not so out of reach to build your own house.
Yeah, as many trials and tribulations will confront you when you're building. And the thing is, something is always going to happen. You know, I mean, you're never going to have a month without a problem to overcome. But
there's so much to learn, and I feel like it's totally manageable, and it's something that you can do and have pride in.
The reality is it's not only that it's not impossible, it's a lot easier than you'd think.
Tim and Erica have created such a beautiful home that so wonderfully encapsulates their art. More than that though, this house enables them to really live closer to their dream of a low-impact lifestyle. This really is a case of two artists who have painted their perfect home.